This program is brought to you by the Center for a Sustainable Today. Our world is an amazing, complex living organism, and we coexist in a symbiotic relationship. With this great power comes a great responsibility, a responsibility to ensure the future by taking steps to be sustainable today. And now, here is the host of Sustainable Today.
For most of us, at least in industrialized countries, meeting one's current needs is through the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. But how do we meet our current needs without compromising the needs of future generations in a global marketplace? Fair trade is one of the collaborative movements that seeks to address this challenge, and although still a small segment of the entire world trade markets, fair trade certified sales have grown to over 4 billion worldwide and are even perhaps a little more recession-proof. With us today to tell us what fair trade is, how it's making a difference in communities worldwide, and ways in which you can be involved is Katie Barrow, the Public Relations Manager and Fair Trade Month Coordinator for Transfair USA. Welcome to Sustainable Today. So glad you can join us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Before I put together the intro for the show, I was thinking of stories or thoughts about fair trade, and I came up with some humorous ones. I was thinking, well, maybe back when you're in grade school and you took your lunch to school and you thought a PBJ, peanut butter jelly sandwich traded for somebody's leftover lasagna or mac and cheese. You know, maybe that was fair trade.
Yeah.
Obviously, those aren't fair trade in terms of the social movement. So why don't you tell our guests what fair trade is?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I think trading fairly is a common practice between Americans, but maybe it's not so fair when we're trading with people in the developing world. Fair trade gives consumers a powerful way to reduce poverty through their everyday shopping. So when you go to the grocery store, you know, just looking for fair trade products, when you buy them, you know that you're really making a difference in the world. This is because fair trade gives farmers and workers who grew those products better prices, improved terms of trade, and the opportunity to really improve their lives and their communities.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the founding principles?
There are things that farmers in the developing world really haven't had before. Just a fair price, being able to really negotiate for their coffee based on quality rather than just selling it for whatever they can get. Fair labor conditions for workers. A lot of working conditions, like in flower farms and tea plantations, have really been almost slave labor, and the workers haven't had any opportunity to address concerns or, you know, address safety issues. So fair trade provides for that. Direct trade really gives farmers access to U.S. companies, European companies, so that they can, you know, be treated like international business people.
So these principles, in terms of kind of defining the direction and the evolution of fair trade, then was it the 90s that labeling became more of a emerged or evolved, so that there were organizations that were addressing that?
Yeah, so the purpose of the labeling is really to give consumers the ability to see a product and know for sure that, you know, it's been verified by a third party and that the product actually was produced in a way that's sustainable economically, socially, and environmentally.
Okay.
So it started in Europe with an international organization, Fair Trade Labeling Organizations International.
Right? Is that the Flow?
They're based in Germany. So that organization sets all the standards globally for the producers, for the farmers to follow, the environmental standards, the social standards,
and that's for
the prices.
The product. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it. That's for the products that are more commodity based, right?
Yes.
When we kind of had a conversation before the show, you had mentioned that the way it's grown and the outreach of it in Europe has been fairly different than the way it's been the outreach has occurred here in the United States. Can you talk about that a little bit?
In Europe, it really started as kind of a grassroots consumer movement. It was consumers going to their stores and really demanding fair trade products. Whereas 10 years later, when fair trade started in the U.S. with Transfer USA, same standards, same producer organizations that we're sourcing from, but we really started more with the brands, trying to get the brands on board. And now, 10 years later, we're working really heavily to get more consumers to be aware of fair trade and to be requesting the products.
Yeah. Why do you think in the U.S. It was more brand oriented? Does that mean Americans are more more compelled by brands and marketing and PR, or like advertising?
I think in the U.S., brands really are the drivers of what people buy.
More brand loyal consumers.
Mm-hmm. And we started with coffee in the U.S. That was the first product, and that continues to be the most prevalent fair trade product. You've probably seen fair trade coffee at almost any coffee shop that you go to.